again the following week and put down another bomb, I thought was very unlikely. I was wrong.
Exactly 1 week after the bomb had exploded, a Saturday, the police staged a reconstruction in Brixton, hoping more witnesses might come forward. That same day, in London's East End, Brick Lane was quietly getting ready for its busy evening restaurant trade. Since the 1970s, it had become the centre of the UK's Bangladeshi community.
We thought that we would be the last target, that anybody should attack us. We mind our own business, we get along with life. So we thought we are pretty safe in Brick Lane.
Mr. Ahmed had been working in his restaurant and at about 5:45 had left to collect his daughter from his wife.
As she passed me, my daughter, over to me, that's when the bomb went off. And it was a big, huge noise, deafening noise. The building shook, and I felt it was the end of the world. I thought it was an earthquake. Second, I looked around and I saw the boot of the car going in up into the air with a black smoke and a ball of flame on the top. And then I realized it's a bomb. So I think it was all a miracle that God was smiling on us that day, that nobody got hurt.
Amazingly, only 6 people needed treatment for minor injuries. An hour or two later, and Brick Lane would have been heaving with people. For Operation Marathon, it was a horrifying new development.
I was absolutely shocked to hear that that second bomb had gone off, because it confirmed what was mine and others' worst fears, that this would happen again. We were fairly certain immediately that the Brick Lane bomb was indeed connected to the Brixton bomb. It was too much of a coincidence to have a bomb take place in another significantly minority ethnic community.
The police were now confident that the attacks were racially motivated. But once again, no warning. And once again, no claim of responsibility. Slowly they pieced together what had happened at Brick Lane. A witness had noticed a black holdall lying in the street. He'd put the heavy bag in the boot of his car whilst he walked to a police station to report it. Before he got there, the bomb had blown his car apart.
It minimised the damage, both to property and the injury to people, but it also actually contained the explosion within the boot of his car, which actually helped us recover the component parts of the bomb quite quickly.
Forensics backed up initial suspicions. The same bomber or bombers were behind both blasts. And now there were more clues.
The police submitted a fragment of clock face, and there was some typeface on that. And this piece of clock face bore type on it that indicated that the clock was an Actim brand clock.
Time was now literally of the essence. 2 bombs, 2 Saturdays. It could happen again. But where? As detectives traced every shop that sold the trademark clock, the capital tried to adjust to the presence of a deadly serial bomber in its midst.
We were extremely shocked and seriously worried when the Brick Lane bomb went off.
We knew then that he'd upped the ante. Brixton was not a one-off, it was a campaign. It was already, you know, the biggest news story around at the time. But suddenly, we thought, this is really, really serious.
Two bombs on successive Saturdays. In both cases, London's ethnic communities appeared to be the target. A third attack now seemed inevitable. Throughout the city, the sense of alarm was mounting.
After Brick Lane exploded, we then knew that this was going to be a series of bombings, and yes, the clock was going to be against us. We clearly anticipated that there could and was likely to be another bomb, and potentially again the next Saturday, but we didn't know where.
The two places I would have thought they were going was somewhere like Southall, where crowded streets on the weekend, very street life packed with Asian people, or the Jewish community.
With any number of potential targets, it was a nightmare situation for the police. But on day 9 of the investigation, they finally got the breakthrough they so desperately needed.
It took over a week for us to identify an image that we thought was potentially the person that had planted the bomb.
Officers had worked around the clock to review the thousands of hours of CCTV footage. They had tracked the movements of every person on the tapes carrying bags. Now, they had a suspect.
We were actually able to identify the suspect arriving and walking in Brixton Road, carrying the holdall. We were later able to track him walking away from the Electric Avenue junction up the Brixton Road without any holdall at all. And that was what actually confirmed to us that this was the person who had planted the Brixton bomb.
The image they'd isolated was little more than a blur. But it seemed to answer a critical question that SO13 had asked from day 1. Were they looking for an organized group or a lone bomber?
It was always a possibility from day 1 that it could have been a loner.
But in a city with 12 million inhabitants, how would blurred CCTV images of a lone suspect bring the police closer to an arrest?
I sent the tapes to other agencies within this country to see if they can enhance the image. We also sent the tape overseas to America to see if they can enhance it. The team were still trawling through the CCTV, trying to follow that initial image backwards in time. And when they identified some images that were actually clear enough for us to go forward and publish them within the media, we decided we would go public with the recognisable images on that Thursday.
They had a suspect, they had him on video, and of course they wanted to get it out into the newspapers, they wanted to get it on television as fast as possible in the hope that somebody would recognise this man.
The first pictures of the prime suspect for both the Brixton and Brick Lane bombings appeared in Thursday's Evening Standard.
And I felt fairly confident that if we published some image that was recognisable, that the public would help us and identify that person. To respond to that, we set up a team of officers, experienced detectives, to answer the phones from the public when they were phoning in. Those detectives had a list of questions that they would ask all the people who rang in, so that enabled us to actually evaluate some of the information that we got.
2 bombs, 2 successive Saturdays, and 48 hours to go till the next one. Would anyone recognize the man in the cap before the 3rd Saturday came? That night, the calls started to come in, with everyone aware the bomber was likely to strike again soon.
If I'm honest, I didn't fancy working on the Saturday because I thought, you know, the 2 previous incidents had been on Saturdays. I thought I was fairly safe coming in from the overtime shift on the Friday. It had been quite an unusual day for me anyway. I'd already had a call to London Zoo for one of the keepers that had been attacked by one of the elephants.
24 hours after releasing the picture, the anti-terrorist branch had been inundated by over 250 calls. And new information was still coming in.
A call came into police through the hotline at about 5:25 p.m. This particular call gave us the name of David Copeland as being a potential suspect, as looking like the image that had been released from the Brixton bomb.
David Copeland's name was now in the frame. As the police hastily followed that and other new leads, London carried on as normal.
It was the beginning of a bank holiday, and so there were lots of people on the streets. The sun was shining, and there was almost a bit of a carnival atmosphere, really. And so, I mean, I was walking along with a bit of a spring in my step, I suppose, and thought I'll pop into the Admiral Duncan, which is a pub that I had been into once or twice before.
The Admiral Duncan is a popular gay pub in the heart of London's West End. So far, the bomber had appeared drawn to ethnic targets. There was no reason to expect an attack here. As Gary had a drink, the pub welcomed its early evening trade. Amongst them was John Light, who had travelled to London for a night out.
He was there with his friends, Andrea, Nick and Julian. Andrea and Julian for a time had worked with John. They were all best friends, and he was taking them out to a show. His shout, as far as I can gather, because he was so delighted about being best man at the wedding earlier, and now being invited to be the godfather of Andrea's baby.
As John celebrated with the happy couple, others in Soho got into the party mood.
Bank holiday weekend, the sun's shining, make the most of it, get out there, have a meal, have a drink, go clubbing, and have a really nice day.
I had probably taken about 2-3 sips out of it, and then bang.
Just like you're completely gone with the noise and everything around about you. But I just got thrown right against the wall at the back with the impact of the bomb. I could actually feel myself sliding down the wall.
And the first thing that hit me was silence, complete and utter silence. And I thought, somebody spiked my drink. That was my first thought. And looking across where the bottles and glasses and the barman and things that should be was just blackened boards. That's all I remember, and wisps of smoke, and one very bright light, which I later learned was an emergency light. And I wasn't aware of anybody being around me. It was a very strange feeling. And so I turned to my right to see where everybody was or what had happened, and I felt myself falling. That's it. That's all I remember of that day.
But I thought I was dying. I just thought that was it. Yeah. The pain was so tremendous in the legs. Everywhere seemed to be like knives getting punctured your body.
It took me about 4 minutes on the motorbike to arrive in Old Compton Street, and I rode up on the bike to the junction.